Other news now, China has welcomed the clarification of the Sri Lankan government's stance with regard to the Hambantota Port agreement. The Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has flip-flopped on his remarks on the port agreement, stating that his government will not renegotiate the existing agreement with China. The commercial agreement has been signed will not be changed as well. The Chinese embassy has released a statement saying that it highly appreciates President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's remarks at a meeting with foreign correspondents on this connection. It says in a quote here. The Chinese embassy also added that the security and control of the Hambantota Port will entirely be in the hands of Sri Lankan government and Navy, just like all other ports in the island nation. Sri Lanka's Hambantota Port and the discourse around it has always been about China's debt trap. The port has been leased to China for 99 years because Sri Lanka could not pay for its construction. Earlier this month, this port was at the center of contradiction between the two powerful brothers of Sri Lanka, the President and the Prime Minister. Soon after the victory in the presidential election, Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited India and said that Sri Lanka wants to work very closely with both India and China. He also called the lease of the Hambantota Port a mistake of the previous government. His exact words were these: the deal has to be renegotiated. Giving a small loan for investment is a different thing, but giving important economic harbour is not acceptable. That way should have been controlled. He's also quoted as saying, "I am not afraid to say, but that Hambantota Port decision was a mistake," unquote. Enter Mahinda Rajapaksa, the new Prime Minister and the President's elder brother, speaking to the Chinese state media in November. Rajapaksa made a proper flip-flop. First, he said that his younger brother and President Gotabaya's remarks were taken out of context. He expressed confidence on Sri Lanka's ability to repay the loans for the Hambantota Port. He had also added that Sri Lanka and China will implement big projects like the Hambantota Port and the Colombo Port City. Now, this will have huge implications for India and the strategically important Indian Ocean region. Sri Lanka's economic reality is very different, though. Accumulated foreign debt is roughly $55 billion. Foreign reserves at a paltry $8.5 billion. Now, in 2017, China wrote off $1.1 billion of debt in exchange for a long-term lease of the Hambantota Port. This is the reality. Is Sri Lanka capable of repaying the loans? Difficult to say at this moment, but Sri Lanka wants to cement ties with China. And the Hambantota Port is a political bait, an economic giveaway to secure more Chinese investment. Rajapaksa's sudden change of stance might put India and Sri Lanka ties at risk. Let's go across to Hong Kong now. News from Hong Kong. Protesters in Hong Kong have added another cause in their movement against China. Pro-democracy protesters took out a support rally for China's ethnic Uyghurs in Hong Kong's financial district, further bolstering the scrutiny on Beijing for putting Uyghur Muslims in detention camps. The move is being seen as an effort by pro-democracy voices in the autonomous region to have greater representation in the Legislative Council elections slated for next year. The ill treatment of Uyghur Muslims in China is well documented and has invited global scrutiny. These protesters waved Uyghur and East Turkestan flags and raised slogans highlighting the poor state of Uyghur Muslims in China. China has been constantly accused of a mass crackdown against Uyghur Muslims minorities in its Xinjiang region. Reports emerge every now and then about millions of Muslims being detained in prison-like camps. However, Hong Kong police resorted to its familiar suppression tactics. Besides pepper spray, they have even pulled out guns and pointed at protesters and journalists covering the support rally. The protests, which started in June, have pushed Hong Kong's economy into recession. One started as peaceful mass marches against the controversial extradition bill. These protests have evolved into a wider movement, which has resulted in a brutal crackdown by China. Remember, the Carrie Lam government officially withdrew the controversial bill in September. Now, if passed, the bill would have allowed the extradition of fugitives to mainland China, where the conviction rate is high and judiciary submissive to the communist government in Beijing. That's what Hong Kongers fear the most. Now, the people of autonomous region want democratic-style governance and not heavy-handed communist rule. And the only hope left to restore the region's large autonomy from China is the upcoming Legislative Council elections next year.